Hey everyone! I'm going to walk you through how to sew a pair of my Jane panties, and I'm going to show you. I'm going to walk you through how to sew the gusset, which is basically the same on every variation of this panty. And on this one, I'm going to show you how to add a ruffle along the leg line. So I've cut all of my pieces out of this pink silk charmeuse, and I've also cut out the gusset lining out of just some plain cotton jersey. So once you've got everything cut out, the first thing to work on is the gusset. I'm just going to move some of these pieces aside. So I start with my back piece. And I'm going to turn it around so that this curved gusset seam is facing up, and this is my shiny side, my good side of my fabric. And I'm going to pin my gusset along this curved seam. So you kind of have to ease these together, like when you're setting in a sleeve or anytime you're putting in two opposite curves. You kind of have to ease them together. I like this pattern because it lets you use woven fabric, so nice delicate silks or lightweight cottons. Makes a nice kind of classic pair of knickers. So with a 1/2 inch seam allowance, I'm just going to baste this together. So our gusset is basted to the panties back with the right sides together. I'm going to flip that over, and I'm working on the panties back with the wrong side facing up. And I'm going to take my lining, and with the right side of my lining facing the wrong side of my panties back, I'm going to do the same thing pretty much that I just did. I'm going to pin this along that seam and then stitch it together. I'm just going to do a pin at either end and then kind of feed it together as I go. So at this point, I'm going to grade my seam allowance because I don't want this area to be bulky. So I'm going to start by trimming back the lining to about 1/8 of an inch. The next layer, I'm going to trim back a little bit longer. When you're working with delicate fabrics like silk, doing this just prevents you from having your seam allowance show through the layers. You could also use pinking shears. That's another way to stop that. And then I'm going to notch this. So just cut small triangles out. Just be very careful not to clip your stitches. If you do happen to clip a stitch, just make sure you go back and fix it. Okay, so looks like that now. And if we lay that out flat, our gusset seam allowance is now encased between these two layers. Okay, so I'm going to fold back the lining, and I'm working with just the gusset, just my silk fabric, and I'm going to take the panties front, and I'm going to line up this straight edge, and I'm going to baste this together. I'm I'm going to roll up my panties back, and here's my lining that's still loose. I'm going to wrap that over so that the right side of my lining is now facing the wrong side of my panties front, and I'm going to stitch it along this straight edge. So our panties front and back are basically sandwiched between the two gusset layers right now. I'm just going to clip back my seam allowance just like I did last time. I normally do like to use pinking shears, but my pinking shears are so dull right now. I'm not even going to bother struggling with them. Okay, so when I pull everything through and turn the garment right side out, all my seam allowances are really nicely encased between those two layers.